It's a quiet summer day at the local park. Families are out enjoying the sunshine, kids laugh and splash in the community lake, and parents are close by, chatting and keeping an eye on their children. The park itself is a well-kept place in a middle to upper-class suburban neighborhood where most families know each other by face if not by name. The lake sparkles in the sun. The sound of kids laughing mixes with the occasional bark of a dog, and a gentle breeze rustles through the nearby trees. Among the crowd, we see a tall black man, a stranger to most people here. He's in his late 30s, has a calm and composed demeanor, and is simply enjoying a rare, peaceful day off from work. He's not interacting much with others, but he's been observing his surroundings, smiling at the joy around him, soaking in the simple beauty of the day. As he sits on a bench near the lake, something catches his eye. A little girl, no more than 6, is waddling too close to the edge of the water. Her mother is distracted, talking on the phone a few feet away, unaware of how close her daughter is to potential danger. The girl loses her balance, and before anyone realizes, she stumbles forward and falls into the water, a look of terror flashing across her face as she goes under. Without a second thought, the man bolts to his feet. He doesn't know the little girl, but he's moved by a natural impulse to help. Time seems to slow as he rushes to the water's edge. The people around him barely notice what's happening until they hear the sound of splashing, followed by a few gasps and the panic scream of the mother who's just realized her daughter is in danger. The man dives into the water, the cold rush engulfing him as he goes under. He scans through the murky depths, quickly spotting the girl's small, flailing arms. With practiced ease, he grabs her and pulls her up, emerging from the water with her held securely in his arms. The mother is now frantic, screaming her daughter's name, and a crowd begins to gather at the water's edge, watching with a mixture of awe and shock as the man approaches the shore, carrying the terrified but unharmed child. The mother rushes forward, nearly hysterical with relief, as he hands her the girl. Her voice cracks with gratitude as she tries to thank him, but he simply smiles, nods, and steps back to give her space. For a brief, beautiful moment, it seems like an act of human kindness has triumphed, breaking through any boundaries of race or background. The mother clutches her daughter close, realizing just how close she came to losing her. But as the man stands back, catching his breath, he notices something. A few pairs of eyes looking at him suspiciously. A sense of unease creeps in as whispers spread through the crowd. He feels the weight of their gazes, as if his act of heroism is overshadowed by the simple fact that he's a stranger and a black man, in a neighborhood where most people look nothing like him. Then, someone murmurs something about calling the police. The man's name is Andre, a dedicated, hard-working nurse who has spent over a decade in a busy metropolitan hospital. From a young age, Andre has had a natural sense of compassion. Growing up in a tough neighborhood taught him resilience, and he learned that kindness, despite the obstacles, could have the power to change lives. After finishing high school, he dedicated himself to becoming a healthcare worker, one of the few careers that allowed him to give back to his community and make a meaningful impact. Andre has seen it all, from saving lives in the emergency room to offering comfort to families who've lost loved ones. He's a quiet hero, someone who works behind the scenes and doesn't ask for recognition or reward. In his spare time, he volunteers at local clinics, coaches a youth basketball team, and participates in community outreach programs. Andre believes in doing his part to create a positive ripple effect, helping people however he can. However, despite his professional success and his contributions to the community, Andre often finds himself treated differently simply because of his appearance. At work, he sometimes overhears colleagues making assumptions about his background. On the rare occasion when he's pulled over, he notices the way the officers' hands linger on their holsters, the way their eyes narrow just a little more than necessary. These experiences don't define him, but they're a part of his daily life, a quiet, persistent reminder that society often sees him through a different lens. In his personal life, Andre keeps a close circle of friends and family. His younger sister, Maya, is the light of his life. She's a college student studying sociology, with dreams of changing the world. Andre's mother, a retired schoolteacher, is his role model, having raised him and his sister alone after his father passed away when he was a teenager. She instilled in him the value of integrity and resilience, encouraging him to rise above prejudice and focus on his own values. His mother's favorite saying, "Kindness isn't a weakness," has become a guiding principle for him. Every time Andre steps into his role as a nurse, he's reminded of his purpose and the importance of showing empathy, no matter how people might perceive him. Recently, Andre has been dealing with a difficult time at work. Budget cuts have strained the hospital's resources, and the workload has been immense. He's been pulling double shifts, barely sleeping, and on this rare day off, he decided to visit a nearby suburb to escape the city noise and find a moment of peace. It was supposed to be a day of rest, a moment to recharge his spirit. As he walked into the neighborhood park earlier that day, he felt a pang of hesitation. He noticed the glances he received as he passed families seated at picnic tables, couples strolling hand in hand, and children playing in the grassy field. There was an unspoken tension, a look in people's eyes that reminded him he was out of place. It was subtle but familiar, an invisible wall separating him from the world around him. Still, Andre reminded himself that he had as much right to enjoy the park as anyone else, and he focused on the tranquility of his surroundings. Sitting by the lake, he was beginning to feel a sense of calm wash over him. Then, he spotted the little girl at the water's edge. When she stumbled and fell in, his instincts took over instantly. It was a reflex for him, a deeply ingrained response after years of responding to emergencies. He didn't even consider waiting for someone else to act. His years of experience kicked in, and his only thought was to save a child in danger. As Andre pulls the little girl from the water, he gently sets her down on the grass. She coughs, gasping for air, her tiny body shivering. Andre checks her breathing, instinctively slipping into his caregiver mode, asking if she's all right and reassuring her with a calm, steady voice. The girl nods, looking up at him with wide eyes, and he smiles reassuringly. But as he looks up, he realizes that a small crowd has gathered. There are concerned whispers, tense stares, and people clutching their phones. Andre sees a woman, presumably the child's mother, rushing over with terror in her eyes, calling for her daughter. She reaches her, scooping her up in a protective hug and casting Andre a wary glance. "Did he hurt you?" she asks, looking the girl over as if expecting to find bruises. Andre feels a pang of hurt. He knows that look all too well. He's been in situations like this before, where people's assumptions take precedence over reality. But he keeps his calm, explaining, "Your daughter slipped into the water. I pulled her out." The woman's eyes narrow, flickering with doubt and suspicion. Instead of thanking him, she steps back, holding her daughter tightly, her gaze never leaving Andre. A man in the crowd, tall and broad-shouldered, steps forward, his eyes brimming with aggression. "Did he push her in?" someone murmurs, and the whisper spreads like wildfire. Andre shakes his head, struggling to process what's happening. "No," he says, his voice firm but controlled. "I saw her fall in and helped her out." But the man isn't convinced. He crosses his arms, stepping closer with a scowl. "Who even are you? I don't recognize you. What are you doing here?" The tension in the air is thick, and Andre can feel it pressing down on him. People are pulling out their phones, recording, watching with scrutinizing eyes, whispering. His heart races, not from fear but from frustration. He wants to explain, to defend himself, but he knows that in the eyes of this crowd, his intentions have already been judged. He takes a step back, trying to keep his calm. "I was just here to enjoy the park. I saw the girl fall, and I reacted to help her. Anyone would have done the same." The crowd's expressions don't soften. Instead, more voices rise, questioning why he was near the lake, why he was watching the children play. Every explanation he tries to give is met with doubt and suspicion, and the air grows heavier with each passing second. An older man in the crowd mutters, "This is why we need to keep an eye on people like him." Andre's jaw tightens, his fists clenching involuntarily. He wants to shout, to tell them how absurd this all is, to make them see him as he truly is. But he knows from experience that anger will only add fuel to the fire. He takes a deep breath, focusing on the girl he saved, remembering why he jumped into action in the first place. At that moment, sirens blare in the distance. The police arrive, and the crowd parts to let them through. Two officers step out, eyeing Andre suspiciously as they approach. The mother steps forward, gesturing wildly as she explains her suspicions. This man was too close to my daughter. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he's not from here. We don't know his intentions. Andre raises his hands slightly, trying to show he's not a threat. One of the officers looks at him, scanning him up and down, and then addresses the crowd. All right, everyone. We need to calm down and assess the situation, but the crowd isn't calming down. The whispers grow louder, the stares more intense, and Andre feels his heart sinking. He's faced prejudice before, but never like this. He's saved a life today, and yet, in this moment, he feels like a criminal. One of the officers pulls Andre aside, speaking in a low, cautious tone. Look, we're just here to understand what happened. Can you explain? Andre tells his story again, his voice steady but with an edge of desperation. He recounts the moment he saw the girl slip, how he ran without thinking to pull her from the water. He describes the exact steps he took, hoping his sincerity will break through the wall of suspicion. The officer listens, nodding, but his expression remains neutral. He glances back at the crowd, who are still watching, waiting for some kind of verdict. Andre can see that the officer feels the weight of their expectations, the pressure to act decisively. Then, the officer turns to the little girl, who is clinging to her mother. He kneels down to her level, speaking gently. Sweetheart, did this man help you? The girl nods slowly, looking up at her mother, then back at the officer. I fell in, and he pulled me out. There's a pause. The crowd quiets for a moment, their assumptions challenged by the girl's innocent words. The officer nods, then stands up, addressing the crowd. It seems like this man acted to save the child. There's no evidence of wrongdoing here. But even as the crowd disperses, Andre can feel their lingering suspicion, the stares that follow him as he walks away. The officers let him go, but the experience has left a scar. He saved a life, but in that moment, he was judged by the color of his skin, not the content of his actions. As Andre pulls the young girl safely to shore, adrenaline pumps through his veins. Panting and exhausted, he gently hands her over to her grateful mother, who embraces her child with relief. Onlookers murmur with admiration, realizing that Andre had bravely risked his own life for the girl. As he tries to catch his breath, Andre notices a police car speeding toward him, lights flashing. Without warning, an officer steps out, sternly instructing Andre to keep his hands visible. Confused, Andre complies, only to be surrounded by whispers from a few people in the crowd, casting doubtful glances. One man steps forward, claiming he thought he saw Andre acting suspicious before the incident. The officer begins questioning Andre aggressively, assuming that he might be a troublemaker. The mother, still clutching her daughter, looks on with guilt, hesitating before stepping in. As the officer presses Andre further, it becomes painfully clear to Andre, and everyone else watching, that he's being profiled solely because of his appearance. The crowd's mood shifts. Some people exchange nervous glances, recognizing the injustice. Just then, a bystander who recorded the entire rescue steps forward, playing the video for everyone to see. The footage shows Andre jumping into the lake without a moment's hesitation, disregarding his own safety to save the girl. The mother steps forward, her voice trembling with both gratitude and shame. She explains to the officer how Andre saved her daughter's life, her eyes filled with tears. The officer's demeanor changes, but Andre's face is filled with a complex mixture of anger, sadness, and hurt. For a moment, silence settles over the park as everyone processes the gravity of what just occurred. Andre, holding his composure, looks around at the crowd. He says nothing, but his expression speaks volumes, a powerful testament to the pain of being misjudged and the resilience required to rise above it. He quietly turns to leave, his actions echoing louder than any words could, leaving the onlookers with the powerful realization of their own biases. As Andre begins to walk away, the air feels thick with unspoken words. His calm, deliberate movements contrast sharply with the chaos that surrounds him. The crowd, still reeling from the shocking events, watches in silence, unsure of what to say or do. The weight of the situation lingers in the air. The mother, who is still trying to catch her breath from the intensity of the moment, calls out to him, her voice trembling with emotion. "Wait, please, just let me thank you properly." Her words falter as she struggles to articulate the gratitude and regret she feels. Andre pauses for a brief moment, but doesn't turn to face her directly. He offers her a small, measured nod, an acknowledgement of her attempt, but a quiet refusal to engage in any further conversation. His dignity in this moment is undeniable, as he chooses not to remain to explain himself or seek validation. His exit, though simple, leaves the crowd with a mix of admiration and guilt. The bystander who had been recording the entire incident watches Andre walk away, his eyes heavy with regret. He feels the sting of the injustice that just unfolded, but he's also moved by the grace Andre has shown in the face of such adversity. The video on his phone captures the stark contrast. Andre, a hero, being treated like a criminal simply because of his skin color. The bystander knows this video could have a far-reaching impact. Stepping forward, he addresses the now silent crowd, his voice filled with frustration and newfound resolve. "That man just saved a life," he says, the words gaining strength as he speaks. "And we treated him like a threat, like a criminal. Why? Because of how he looks? We need to wake up to our own biases." Some of the people in the crowd nod, some out of shame, others in contemplation. A few murmurs of apology ripple through the group as they begin to realize how quickly they judged Andre based on assumptions about his appearance and background. As Andre reaches his car, the weight of the day settles in. His hands tremble slightly as he grips the steering wheel. He replays the events over and over in his mind. The overwhelming panic as the girl struggled in the water, the rush to save her, and then the sharp sting of being accused of something he didn't do. The unfairness of it all still weighs on him, but a small part of him feels proud. He had done the right thing, and in the end, that mattered more than anything else. He takes a deep breath, letting it out slowly, as if releasing some of the tension that has built up in his chest. Despite everything that happened, he knows he has saved a life. That's something no one can take away from him. The rest, he tells himself, will have to be dealt with in time. For now, he lets himself feel the quiet peace of knowing that in his heart, he did what was right. Later that evening, a video of the incident surfaces online. It spreads like wildfire, the shocking footage captivating people across the country. The video shows both the rescue and the aftermath, the unjust treatment Andre faced from the police and the crowd's initial reactions. Social media users react with outrage, demanding accountability and discussing the broader issue of racial profiling. Some share their own experiences, others call for justice, but the conversation quickly grows beyond just the incident, sparking a larger dialogue about systemic racism and the biases people face in their everyday lives. Hashtags like #HeroNotCriminal begin to trend, and public figures, athletes, activists, and journalists add their voices to the growing movement, urging society to confront its biases head-on. The video gives a face to the ongoing struggle for equality and shines a light on the unjust treatment that Black individuals often endure, even when they do the right thing. The next day, Andre's phone begins to buzz with messages, hundreds of them. Some come from people offering their heartfelt apologies, others from strangers expressing gratitude for his bravery. He even receives messages from former classmates, people who never took the time to understand him before but now want to reach out and show support. Among the messages, one stands out. It's from the mother of the girl he saved. Her words are filled with sincerity and gratitude. She tells Andre that she has been replaying the incident in her mind, and after seeing the video, she deeply regrets how everything unfolded. She invites him to meet with her and her daughter so they can thank him properly and express their remorse for the way the situation was handled. Andre is initially hesitant. He's been through so much already, and the last thing he wants is to relive the painful moments of the day. But after a long conversation with his own conscience, he decides to meet with them. He knows this could provide some healing for all involved. When they finally meet, the mother is tearfully apologetic, holding her daughter's hand tightly. The little girl looks up at Andre with wide, grateful eyes. She shyly hands him a small drawing, a picture of him as a superhero pulling the girl from the water, looking strong and brave. The simplicity of the gesture hits Andre harder than he expected. His heart softens as he looks down at the drawing, realizing that this small act of kindness from a child is the beginning of something bigger. The mother continues to apologize, her voice filled with emotion. She thanks Andre over and over, explaining how much she's learned from this experience and how she will work harder to fight prejudice wherever she encounters it. Andre accepts her apology, offering a kind smile. "We all have things to learn," he says. "It's about growing together." As he leaves the meeting, Andre feels a sense of closure. While the battle against racial injustice is far from over, he knows that his actions, his choice to save the child, have planted a seed in the minds of many. The viral video, the conversations it sparked, the apologies, and the acts of reconciliation, it all adds up to something meaningful. Over time, Andre's story continues to resonate beyond just one neighborhood. He becomes a quiet symbol of resilience, strength, and the importance of empathy. His actions show that standing up for what is right, even when faced with prejudice, can slowly begin to change the perspectives of those around you. Though the struggle for justice is ongoing, Andre's story reminds us all that every act of courage, no matter how small, has the potential to make a difference. Moral of the story is that never judge someone based on appearance alone. True character and courage reveal themselves through actions, not assumptions. By seeing each other's humanity, we can build a world that is kinder, more inclusive, and rooted in empathy. Subscribe and follow us for more captivating fictional stories, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this one.